Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Essential Works for Beginners by Composer X. Well, Composer X is Verdi, and Verdi was the great Italian opera composer from the second half of the 19th century. And operas are tricky, aren't they? Because you need to be able to tolerate somebody screaming at you in a foreign language, in a singing style which to many ears sounds extremely unnatural, although it actually is natural. It's the naturally trained human singing voice. But besides that, operas take up lots of time, and you got to be willing to sit there with the words and follow them, or watch a video. It's like watching a movie. That's actually made it rather easier if the production isn't too stupid, which of course you can't count on these days. But the wonderful thing about Verdi is that there is a work to start out with that does everything his operas do in about an hour and 20 minutes, and it's the Verdi Requiem, one of the most important and popular, deservedly so, choral works in the entire repertoire. And if you start with the Verdi Requiem and you like it, then you are all set for his operas. You really are, because it has everything the operas have. It has amazing tunes, intense lyricism, drama, fire, power, passion. It's all in there. It really is. The only thing it doesn't have is a sense of humor. It's a requiem. And Verdi did have a sense of humor. He wrote some wonderful comic stuff. But in any case, you start with the requiem. Trust me when I tell you, if you like that, you are going to be in great shape for anything else. And so I only need to throw in a couple other sort of representative pieces, and you'll be fine. You can follow these things at your leisure, taking your time, doing them as you get used to them and as you feel like it. And I think that's the only way to do it, right? When you have the time and the inclination. But wow, this is great music. And the Requiem itself is gorgeous. There are a million recordings of it. You can take a look at reviews on ClassicsToday.com or my video on the Verdi Requiem to see what some of the best performances are. The Requiem is a setting of the Mass. It's the Mass for the dead. Verdi wrote it originally. Originally what happened, it began life in the 1860s when Rossini died. And when Rossini died, there was this project that everybody should put together a Requiem and everyone would write their piece. And Verdi wrote a piece from the end, the Libera Me piece of the Mass. It's in Latin. And it was, they performed it once and sat on it. It's recently been revived, and it's a very interesting work, too. But Verdi later, after the death of Manzoni, who was a literary figure of extreme importance for Italian nationalism and for the Italian language, Verdi decided to take this piece, which was languishing because he'd written it for this one-off occasion, and turn it into a full-blown requiem in memory of Manzoni. And there we got the Verdi Requiem. Now, this is a work that was intended for concert performances. It's liturgical music, but in those days, they probably would never have, I don't know if they did or they did. I think they didn't. They forbade concert performances of these things in churches, especially if women participated. Ugh, women, ugh, That was the attitude of the church in those days. And so it gained life as a concert work, and it has remained one of the most popular ever since. Start there. You will have solos. You will have fabulous choruses. It's the only difference, actually, between this and an opera is that it has a lot more chorus work than most operas do. Operas are given over to soloists because they are characters and they're following a story and a plot line, and the chorus is an adjunct, commenting or somehow having some other part. And Verdi has some amazing choruses in his operas, as you will hear in a moment. But essentially, the stylistics, the sound, the kind of melody, the rhythm, the passion and the excitement, it's all the same stuff. It really is. So if you've started with Verdi's Requiem, you're in fabulous shape. And and you could find wonderful performances of it, everywhere. Like I said, in my video on the Requiem or on ClassicsToday.com. And next, you got to start taking on a couple operas. And the first opera you should start with is Rigoletto, because Rigoletto has one of Verdi's all-time greatest tunes. Ya da 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 da. The tune. La donna è mobile. Women are fickle. First of all, it's a great story. It's a really good story about the lecherous Duke of Mantua and his hunchback jester, court jester, Rigoletto, who everybody despises and makes fun of. He has a beautiful daughter who he's hidden from the lecherous count, but the lecherous count finds her anyway and seduces her. And she falls in love with him because she's young and naive and she doesn't know what a scuzzbag he is. And so Rigoletto plans to kill him. And she hears about the plot, and so she goes in to sacrifice herself for her lover, the Duke. And when Rigoletto gets the body in the sack that he wants, you see, the deal with the assassin, Sparafugili, is that, you kill him, you dump him in a sack, and give me the sack. I want to see him dead. So he opens the sack, and who should be in there but his daughter? And because nobody in opera ever dies quickly, they proceed to sing a wonderful duet as she sees her dead mother in heaven waiting for her, and he realizes that he has been cursed, the curse happens back in Act 1. There's a curse. And the curse has been fulfilled. His daughter has been killed. It's tragic, and it's powerful, and it's the most amazing role ever written for the baritone voice. I mean, it's endlessly fascinating. And from the 1850s, it was late 1840s, 1850, in that area. And it's part of a trilogy. So it's one work that's going to sort of get you into this Verdi in his famous mature middle period. The other works were Il Trovatore and La Traviata. Both of them extraordinary masterpieces that are absolute staples of the operatic repertoire. So you're in good shape if you go to Rigoletto next. And last, only one more, Aida. Now, Aida is a grand opera, one of Verdi's grand operas, the grand opera a la French grand opera. It has a ballet in it. It's got some dancing, huge crowd scenes. And, of course, it has that famous triumphal scene with the amazing chorus writing. It's got the chorus singing Glory to Egypt and the march. Da, 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 da. That used to be more famous than it is now. It was, vying for popularity with Elgar's Pomp and Circumstance marches, music that you graduate to. But it's late Verdi. Verdi actually thought he was going to retire with Aida, but then he came back because of the excellence of the libretto. They talked him into doing his last two operas, Otello and the comedy Falstaff, which closed his career. So if you do Aida, then you can do Otello and Falstaff, and you're in very good shape. And here he became an enormously refined composer. Verdi said, I may not be I may not be a learned composer, that's what he said, but I am a very experienced one. And here's where all that experience shows. The action is really swift. The situations are powerful. The orchestration, the handling of the orchestra is gorgeous, but entirely personal to Verdi. They're really amazing works, this last trilogy of Aida, Otello, and Falstaff. And they cover basically the last 20 years of his life, with all of the stuff he'd written before. He wrote, I think there are 34 operas or 30 operas, quite a few. And Aida is the story of an Egyptian princess who's in love with Radames. She's an Ethiopian princess, pardon me. She's Ethiopian. She's in love with Radames, who's the Egyptian soldier, who is loved by Amneris, the Egyptian pharaoh's daughter. And there's this love triangle, and they wind up getting sealed in a tomb and dying together. Do you need to know anything else? I don't think so. And there's a triumphal scene. So you're set for Verdi. It's actually easy. Get those three. Start with those three. Get to know them. Enjoy them, savor them, and you're going to be in fabulous shape, I promise. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me, and enjoy your Verdi. Take care.